You gotta love the first one. That we,
You understand aesthetic. I love anything pretty.
it's only pink.
Is it not a lot of people today?
It's just us.
Oh, we get blocks.
I always think it's good to have blocks and. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Has it been this way recently though? Hit or miss? Yeah, I think it's a mildly feeling.
Yeah, it really is, inconsistent. I think it depends on the weather and what people have going on, right? I think I'm very dark here, hold on. Better. I can never tell if it's like warm light, type, smoother. Is that too bright for you guys?
No, whatever you need.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm gonna try. Okay. Oh, yeah. Days. So I think we're gonna use the wall at some point, so you guys are fine, right? I don't have to move anymore, but know that if you're at home, you don't have to set up near a wall to practice, but if you have access to one at some point, that might be good if we get there. And also, if you are at home, you can use the door instead of the wall. You just have to make sure you're practicing on the side that doesn't like push you. Right? You don't want to put your weight on it and have it swing out. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to your gentle yoga practice. And today we're going to focus on this theme of balance. Energetically, we're just coming out of, we're in a period, because I'm always paying attention to what's happening planetarily, where almost every planet was or still is retrograde, which means that the energy is not flowing as it normally does. And what this causes us to do, whether we're aware or not, is to get a little more internalized about things. And things outside of ourselves don't necessarily go as smoothly as they normally do. And so this kind of a period, as we lead up to the fall equinox, which then throws us into like a chaotic time of the eclipses. So right now is a really great time to kind of look and see where there's balance in your life and where there's not. And you may even have, kind of think now that that's kind of been illuminated lately. Like maybe there's something that's kind of a light's been cast on an area of your life where it's like, okay, this isn't working, right? Like maybe it's relationship, or maybe it's daily routine, or maybe it's work-life balance. There are so many areas in our lives that it's virtually impossible for everything to be in balance all the time, right? There's always something. And so when we come to our yoga mat, whether we're aware of it or not, we're always working with balance. And that's one of the great benefits of yoga, especially as we're aging, is this ability to do things and put ourselves in positions and practice holding these shapes that strengthen our ability to balance our body even. And then on top of that, just the act of doing yoga creates more balance in our body and our mind. And then when we leave our mat, creates a little more balance in our lives. So we're gonna play with that theme today. So please take a nice comfortable seat on your mat. You could elevate your hips on some props so that you have more ease and comfort in your seat. And then please close your eyes. And take a moment to just notice what kind of feels imbalanced in your body. We all have imbalances between our left and right sides. And maybe it's subtle, or maybe it's really a pronounced difference. So here you could feel your legs on the ground and your props underneath you. And then notice your pelvis and your sitting bones and see if you have a tendency to shift your weight over to one side more than the other. And then consciously see if you could level that out. And what happens when you do? Maybe then you notice, like for me, when I level out my sitting bones, then I notice that my back is not in alignment, my low back. So one thing affects the next. And here we're just looking to find this really gentle awareness of what we're bringing and carrying with us to our mat today. So notice if your mind starts to tell a story, like mine is like, oh, God, I really need to make time to go to the chiropractor. And see if you could not do that. And instead just have this curiosity of, oh, interesting, there's an imbalance here. Then as you inhale, lengthen up your spine, let the crown of your head rise up to the sky, and take your shoulders up, back, and down. Welcome your breath. Notice your tongue in your mouth. And see if your tongue is pressing against the roof of your mouth, back of your teeth. If there's some tension or a lot of tension in your tongue, can you soften and relax that? And then widen the corners of your eyes. And smooth out the furrow of your brow. And see where you could create a little more space in your head. Whether that's physically by widening the eyebrows and the corners of the eyes, or making a little space between your low jaw and your upper jaw, or taking the ears back in space. Or perhaps it's just making more room in your mind with your thoughts. Imagining a landscape of your mind's eye as a beautiful, vast blue sky. So that as thoughts come by, they can pass like fluffy white clouds. Or maybe you resonate more with the landscape looking like an autumnal scene where the wind can blow the clutter of the mind like fallen leaves. And then become aware of your breath. And before you change anything, just see if your breath is cooling more, if the inhale and the exhale tend to live up in your chest, which is common. And then see if you could draw your breath down lower into your belly. And begin to smooth and even out your inhale and your exhale. And then as if you were an observer to yourself. So keeping the calm and the stillness and all of those points of relaxation that we focused on. Just begin to notice if you feel more balanced already. And then please draw your hands together in front of your heart. I invite you to set an intention for your practice today. It could simply be to notice where imbalance may lie, or to work towards finding more balance, or to be open to practicing what it means to be balanced. Or if this theme doesn't resonate with you and would like to set your own personal intention, please do. And then we'll begin our class and seal in our intentions with 3 cleansing breaths. Take a deep breath in. Let it go with a sigh. 2 more like that. And then gently bow your hips apart. Slowly open your eyes, release your hands. And let's make our way to all fours to start. So if you have sensitive knees, you can use a blanket under them here. And then you'll come into tabletop with your knees underneath your hips and your wrists just under or in front of your shoulders. Take a moment and notice the distribution of weight. And see if you could create a little more balance there. So what do I mean by that? Well, is there even weight between your knees and your hands, between your lower half and your upper half? And then from there, tune into your hands and see where weight distributes more heavily. So for most of us, it'll be in the wrists and the heel of the hand, kind of takes all of the weight. So here, instead, press your index finger bones and your thumb bones down into your mat and see if you could take the weight more to that, you know, the L's that sometimes we learn left and right with, like that part of your hand. Really activate there, and then you can press the rest of the finger bones down and kind of claw them out with your fingertips and see how that takes weight out of your wrists. So we want more balance, distribution of weight. Then from here, soften right behind your heart, melt your heart, take your shoulder blades onto your back, lengthen from the tip of your tailbone to the crown of your head. Breathe. And on your next inhale, you'll come into your cow tilt. So again, playing with this idea of balance. So the sitting bones lift, the pelvis tilts, belly gets soft, you melt your heart, you take your gaze up. And then you notice maybe for you, or for me for sure, this much of an arch in the low back is too much, and I need to back it up a little bit. So we find this balance here. Then as you, on your next exhale, then you'll find your cat tilt, where you lengthen the tailbone down, draw the belly in, round your back, chin to your chest. And maybe you need to overdo this a little bit more, really arch into it. And then inhale, flow between cat, cow, noticing what feels best in your body and where there's a tendency to hold on to these patterns of asymmetry and imbalance. So notice the pelvis, and if one side of the hip hikes up more than the other. You can notice this by tuning into the length of the side body, seeing if one side body feels a little shorter and more cramped than the other. Could you level that out? So we all have these patterns of how we move through the world, how we hold ourselves, when we're sitting, when we're doing the dishes, when we're vacuuming. You know, for me, it's like carrying my daughter, it's just thrown my whole equilibrium out of whack. And so just becoming aware of that. Like, oh, okay, here's something, a pattern that has developed that could use a little bit of work, right? Inhale, come back to a neutral spine. And then take your hands out in front of you a little more and take them a little wider, so maybe an inch forward and an inch wider. And then we're just gonna take a really big hip circle here. Taking the hips all the way back over to the left, up to your left wrist, and swing them over to the right. There's no right or wrong way to do this. You can make the circle as big, as fast, or slow as you like. Our yoga practice inherently asks us to tune into what's happening within us, with our bodies, with ourselves, and to get to know that part of who we are and how these parts interact, and to then see where we need less and more, and to find that balance for ourselves. Oh, this feels good to make this bigger. Or I think I could maybe slow this down a little, it's better for me. And then the next time you come back through center, go ahead and change directions and notice how one side probably feels easier and one side feels more awkward. A few more breaths. And then go ahead and come back through center. Here we're gonna find a wide knee child's pose. So knees come wide, big toes together. But we're gonna do a different variation with our arms. So you'll extend your left arm out, but your right arm comes and bends in like this, so that you can rest your forehead on your forearm. And we'll take a couple of breaths here like that. And maybe here you feel tightness in the upper back. Maybe it just feels really good to breathe into the back of the heart. The tendency for most people's bodies is to have hypermobility in the low back, too much movement, and not enough mobility in the upper back. So this can be an area that feels tight or tense or congested. So with every inhale, imagine that you're drawing breath into those tight places and clearing out the dark, dusty cobwebs as you exhale. Invoking the feeling of these crisp fall days or late summer days where you can open the windows where it's not too humid and hot, and how good that feels to just air things out. And just bring a sense of that cleansing to your breath here. Then we'll go ahead and switch sides. So you extend your right arm straight out and fold your left arm in. And then notice the difference from one side to the next. Take a few of those cleansing breaths here. And then when you're ready, please make your way into downward facing dog, taking your time. Place your hands and find that distribution of weight that's more balanced. You could bend your knees and pedal out through your legs here. Give yourself a minute to let the body wake up in this position. And then on your next inhale, walk your feet forward to meet your hands. Exhale as you fold. Knees could stay bent, or you could bring your hands up onto blocks. As you inhale, lengthen halfway to a flat back. Exhale, fold back in and do that 2 more times. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale as you fold. Inhale. And bow into the exhale. Then press down into your feet. Inhale, reach your arms all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to your heart. And then go ahead and face towards me on your mat. Moving the props off to the side. And here, we're just going to play with this idea of what it is that we need for balance in our lives and in our yoga poses. So the first thing that we need for balance is a steady foundation, right? A solid foundation. As soon as that goes, as soon as something shifts there, the whole rest of our lives or our bodies becomes imbalanced, right? And in yoga, our foundation is always whatever is touching the ground. Any part of your body that's on the ground is part of your foundation. So here, it's our feet. And we spend most of our time, right, either on our feet or laying down on our butts. So it's always amazing to me how much time I spend on my feet and how little I think about my feet. So here we're going to play with that, with our feet. So you're just going to kind of feel what it feels like to be standing on your feet. Maybe you do this a little bit. And then look down at how you typically stand. And most of us, everybody here that I can see, our feet turn out a little bit, myself included, right? So some people have more of, what's that called? Pigeon going. I was gonna say duck, and I was like, that's not right. But most people have a little too much external rotation in the hips, because this is coming from the femurs and hips, right? So what we want to do is you want to make the feet parallel by looking at the pinky toe edges of the feet. So you're widening your heels a little bit so that your second toe, the toe next to your big toe, kind of lines up with the center of your ankle, which probably feels awkward a little bit when we make that adjustment, right? Because it's not our typical pattern. But that's what we want. And then we're going to notice the distribution of weight within our feet. So to do this, you're going to pick up one foot, doesn't matter which one, and you're going to bring your big toe mound onto your mat and pretend that you're putting out a stick of incense. It's burning on the ground. Okay, so you feel the big toe mound pressing, right? That's the goal. You feel that point connecting. Now, with your foot back to that parallel position, yeah, even this, a little balance, right? Bring the pinky toe mound down. So now, maybe both sides are a little more even. And then imagine that you have a camping stake and drive that through the center of your heel. And then do you feel the difference between your feet? Between the foot that you just grounded and the foot that you didn't? Does it feel like, for me, it feels like 2 different feet. Yeah, maybe? All right, well, let's level it out on the next side. So you bring the big toe mound down and you press that in, and you don't really have to do this. I'm just giving you that as like, so you feel that point of contact. And then the pinky toe mound. So the big toe mound roots, because the tendency is that most people collapse their weight this way towards the pinky toe side of your foot. And if you are someone who wears Uggs and you look at the sole of your shoe, like you can see where your weight, because they really wear, like you can really see it. You might be able to see it in your other shoes too, but so we want to bring the big toe mound, more weight to the inner edges of the feet, then the pinky toe mound, then the center of the heel comes down. So now we have nice rounded, rooted foundation. Then bring your arms down by your sides with your palms face up. So that way you have external rotation in the shoulders. Yes, doesn't that feel good? Let's do that. A couple shoulder rolls, up, back, and down. Open up this congested, sticky part of the body. All right, and then you can relax that. Now as you inhale, reach your arms up. So even this is something we don't really do in our daily lives, reaching up. That's why yoga is so good for the body. Now take your right wrist with your left hand. Inhale, lengthen up a little bit more, and exhale, reach out and over to the left. Send your hips over to the right. And breathe. So your nice crescent arch, and then you'll notice kind of where your chest points. See if you could keep your chest open and level towards me. So this is the tendency, watch, is for the chest to, I'm going to over exaggerate it, so for the chest to face down towards the ground, because then we bypass this tension in the side. So see if you could keep your chest facing forward and level. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, it's a little harder to do that stretch, right? Or we feel a little more tension in that part of the body. Now, inhale, come back to center. Go ahead and switch sides. So you take your left wrist in your right hand. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, reach out and over to the right. Send your hips to the left, but keep the weight even on your feet. So Susan, press your hips over. Yeah. Yep. Breathe. Same thing here. Notice your chest. Inhale back to center and exhale, release. Just shake that out. So we need a solid foundation for balance, and that extends then up through the body when we're talking about, well, okay, we're going to keep balance in the feet, and then we're going to talk about twisting for a second. So when we twist in yoga, there's two parts of the body that are involved. One stays stationary and one twists. Either the hips are moving and twisting and the shoulders stay stationary, or the hips stay stationary and the shoulders are moving. So here, because we're standing, the hips are going to stay facing forward. So take your hands to your hips and imagine, you can imagine that there's like headlights pointing straight ahead. You want to keep that, right? The tendency for us is that as we twist, we do this. And we're not twisting then, we're pivoting, right? We want to twist the spine, but what the body will do is it will always bypass the areas of tension and tightness and exploit the flexibility. So we want to keep the hips steady, facing forward, stable. Take your arms out to a T, take a breath in, and then you're going to start to really slowly twist to the right. And keep your hips pointing forward. Very good, you guys. And you may find that you don't twist quite as far as you think, right? Because we're twisting from the upper back. The twist starts kind of in the center of the spine, moves up the upper back. Good, inhale, come back through center, and exhale, go right over to the other side. And then inhale, come back through center, exhale, and release. Come and stand at the top of your mat. Bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lengthen halfway to a flat back. And exhale, step back into downward facing dog. From down dog, inhale, come forward to a high plank and bring your knees down. Exhale, shift your chest slightly forward, bend your elbows straight back, lower all the way down to your belly. Then point your toes, press the tops of your feet down into the ground. Inhale, lift your heart and chest, come up into cobra. And exhale, downward facing dog. Right leg lifts as you inhale. Lunge it all the way forward as you exhale. It's going to take a couple steps. You might have to scooch your foot all the way up. You could even bring your back knee down and step your foot up and out to the side. But you need to get to the point where your ankle's underneath your knee. And then lift your back knee as you brought it down and come up onto your blocks. Bring blocks under your hands, framing your front foot. So here, check in with your foundation. See if you can find those points of contact with your right foot. So the big toe mound, the pinky toe mound, the center of the heel press. On the back foot, it's just the big toe mound and the pinky toe mound, right? You still press out through your heel, but it's not touching the ground. Then hug your legs in towards each other. So sometimes this is called like you scissor the legs together, right? You're drawing back in and you press your back thigh high to the sky. Then when you feel stable, steady, and grounded, you can decide to stay just like this. Or maybe you start to work balance and you inhale and reach the arms up. So now all of a sudden the foundation matters a little bit more. And here's what we need for balance besides a steady foundation. We need the ability to be flexible, to move and to flow and to let ourselves waver and then come back to center. The goal is not to stay steady and not move from the center. The goal is to allow a little give and flow and then hug back in, come back to that centered part of ourselves. So you can stay right here, or you can begin to twist to the right arm back, and maybe just a little twist looking out over your right leg. And then maybe inhale back to center, exhale, release, downward facing dog. And then from here, you have some options. You can stay right in down dog. You can flow through a vinyasa. You take child's pose and rest. The choice is yours, and you make it based on what will bring more balance to your practice. And then from downward dog, you find your way back there. Maybe you'll inhale your left leg to the sky. And exhale, step your left foot all the way forward. Same thing here, come up onto your blocks. So the blocks are an extension of our foundation. You see that your knee is right over your ankle. So Linda, you can get your front foot up even a little bit more. Yeah. And then check in with your feet. Big toe mound, pinky toe mound, center of the heel. Same thing on the back foot, although the heel doesn't connect to the ground. Then hug the legs in towards each other. Right, so we're creating more stability and strength in the foundation by activating the entire leg and drawing into our core, to our midline. And then once you are ready and feel a little secure in your legs, you could inhale, reach your arms up. And then you give yourself some grace, right, to wobble, to sway. Activate your arms by reaching up as much through your thumbs as through your pinkies. And then you could stay just like this, or you could start to twist. Take your arms out to a T, and then take your left arm back and twist towards your bent front knee. Keep the back leg straight and strong. Really good, you guys. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, release. Downward facing dog. Same 3 options here. This time we'll all meet in child's pose. So you could stay in down dog for a breath or 2. You could come right into child's pose. You could do a vinyasa. And then find your way into child's. And give yourself this time to rest. To hold space for yourself. So let go of the story about how your practice is going today. And just simply be in this moment. Be with your breath. And feel into your body. Then we'll go ahead and come back into down dog. Right leg lifts again as we inhale. So even here, this is balance. We have one whole limb of our 4-part foundation off of the ground. So notice how we adjust for that. And then on an exhale, you'll take that foot all the way up in between your hands. This time, pivot your back heel down. And move your front foot so that the heel of your front foot lines up with the center of your back foot. Bring your right forearm onto your thigh, your left hand onto your hip. Use your forearm to track your knee open towards your second toe, so don't let it knock in. Check in with your feet once more. Big toe mound, pinky toe mound, center of the heel, especially with the back foot. In the back foot, you'll kind of press the pinky toe edge down a little bit more here. Then take your shoulder blades onto your back to open up your heart. And there's a twist that happens here. So remember when we were doing that like crescent side bend and we talked about the chest turning down towards the ground? The same thing happens here. So you take the left ribs back, the right ribs forward. Yeah. And then extend the left arm out in line with your ear. So you reach your fingertips towards the wall where your head is pointing. Yes. There we go. And a couple of breaths here. Maybe you look up underneath your top arm. And then exhale, release. Bring your hands back down to the ground, pivot your back heel up and downward facing dog. This time we're going to come right to the second side. So left leg lifts as you inhale. in this three-legged dog, place of balance. And then on an exhale, step your foot all the way up in between your hands. Pivot your back heel down. Find your heel to arch alignment. Front heel lines up with the center of the back foot. Left forearm to your left thigh. Right hand to your hip. So here we all kind of are still facing down towards the ground when we come up in this position. So what we want to do is take that right rib cage back, the left rib cage comes forward. So our torso is pointing towards that long right side of our mat. Then you take the right arm out in line with your ear, palm faces down. Check in with the feet, feel your foundation. And then you have that mobility, right? You need both. We can't just stay too tense and tight in one position. We need the ability to move and flow and find form and balance in our posture. Just a couple more breaths here. And then exhale. Release your hands down, pivot your back heel up, downward facing dog. And here as you inhale, walk your feet forward to meet your hands once again. Exhale as you fold. Press down into your feet. Inhale, reach the arms all the way up to the sky. And exhale, hands to hold. Okay, now come to face forward on the mat. We're going to work on, I'd be remiss if we didn't do a couple balancing poses here, right? So know that when you work on balancing on one foot, doing it on your yoga mat is actually much harder than if you were to come onto some hardwood, because even just this little amount of squish and cushion creates a little like waviness, right? And so if you were to do this at home on carpet, it would be even more so. So more cushion, the less stability. So, you play with that. Let's bring all of our weight into our right foot. And again, you feel into those four corners, or really it's three. You could argue like corners of the back of the heel, but I really like to focus on the center of the heel. So you feel into the foundation and then open your left knee out to the side. So we're going to come into tree. And then you can decide, do you want to keep your heel at your ankle? And this is your pose today. And you're working with a little bit of sway. So steady foundation and ability to be flexible. Or you could slide your foot up onto your shin, below your knee, or it could come up above your knee to your inner thigh. And then wherever you land, you press your foot into your leg back into your foot. So you're hugging back in towards that central channel. And when you're ready, you can reach your arms up. And then here we have to have an attitude where we don't take ourselves too seriously. Where we say, okay, I'm wavering like a tree, right? So when we look to nature, the tree has this deep root system that holds it and tethers it to the ground. So that even when these crazy storms and winds come, you see the trees just getting totally bent and thrown around. And hopefully they stay rooted and steady. Let this go. Sometimes it's too much and they get ripped up, right? And then we'll do the other side. And then if a tree doesn't have the healthy root system and steady foundation, well, we all know what happens then. So bring all of your weight into your left foot, open your right knee out to the side, and you'll probably do the same position that you did on the first side. Maybe not, maybe it's different, but typically it's the same. And then you hug it, and then when you're ready, reach your arms up. And you just kind of let yourself, not be so serious. So easy in yoga. Hold our breath. We try so hard. We want to get it perfect. And it's not about. It's about that balance. Like, can I can I try? Can I do my best and give it my all? And also know that it's a work in progress and it's gonna be different every day. I'm gonna fall and everyone will still love me. And then when you're ready, you can release and shake it out. And then we're gonna do one more balancing pose. So you'll bring all of your weight into your right foot again. And this time lift your left knee and just hold on to your knee. And so this is a good one to do just at home. Right, just to kind of, because we lose balance as we age. Unless we're coming to yoga, the chances of us practicing balance or doing some sort of other sort of exercise are pretty slim, right? So then take your right arm out to the side and then see if you could open your knee over to the left. And then you come back to center. And then maybe you keep your knee in your right hand and twist. And then come back to center. Boy, shake that out. And then we'll do the other side. So bring all of your weight into your left foot. This thing that my knee does on this side, I have to get it like flexible. And lift your right knee, just hold. I'm over 40 now, so I pulled my neck this week in my sleep. And I don't remember being over that. And my knee needs to come into place now. So we've all got stuff with our bodies. And then here you can take your left arm out to the side. And maybe you open your knee and let yourself teeter-totter. And then come back to center and maybe play with this switching, right? And then come back and let it go. Okay, and then let's come to sit. So everybody come sit down on our mat, hydrate, drink, we're gonna take it down. Take it down now. And let's just come to lay on our backs. Because that seems like balance, right? All that standing, all of that work on our legs, let's give them a break. Hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little massage on your low back, on your sacrum. You can make little circles or hold in one area, rock back and forth, whatever feels good. And then bring your feet down to the ground. Bring the soles of your feet together, take your knees wide. Place one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and breathe. And then here, imagine that as you inhale, you could take your breath right up your spine. Actually, you know what, we're gonna switch it. I'm sorry about that. Take a deep breath in and draw your breath all the way down your spine, from the top of your head, all the way to the tip of your tailbone. And as you exhale, send the breath all the way up your spine. So this is counterintuitive. But when we inhale, we're really drawing breath down into the body. We're filling the body, getting heavier. right? So we're moving all that energy down into the body. And then as we exhale and the breath comes up and out, travels all the way up and releases from there. So see if you could do a couple of these central channel breaths, moving your breath up and down the spine. Let's do 3 more rounds. Then go ahead and inhale your knees back up to center. Plug your right knee into your chest. Extend your left leg long. Take your right knee in your left hand, bring your right arm out to the side. Take a breath in here, and as you exhale, twist. Draw your knee into the front of your body, all the way over to the left. You can roll onto the outer left hip. If your right shoulder pops up off the ground, just bring your right hand to rest on your right rib cage. Maybe you look out over your right shoulder. Notice if your right hip starts to hike up towards your rib cage, see if you could press that down and away. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, extend your right leg to meet your left. Pause here, see if you feel a difference side to side. And then we'll balance it out by taking the left knee into the chest. Hug your knee here. Take your left knee in your right hand, left arm out to the side. Big breath in, and as you exhale, find your twist. Bless you. If your shoulder lifts up, rest your hand on your rib cage. You could look out over your left shoulder and then check in with your left side body. Press your hip away from the ribs, make more space between your rib cage and your pelvis. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, hug both knees into your chest. Take your knees wide, soles of the feet up towards the sky. Find happy baby. Grab onto the pinky toe edges of your feet or your ankles. And then whenever this pose feels complete for you, you can make your way into Shavasana. If there's any other stretch that your body desires, please feel free to take it now. And I will offer Reiki in Shavasana today. Reiki is just a universal light energy that your body knows what to do with. If you don't want to receive Reiki, just raise your hand now. It won't be a big deal at all. Otherwise, you'll feel my hands on your head. And then once you get yourself set up in a comfortable position, let's take a couple of cleansing breaths. Take a deep inhale and let it go with a sigh. Maybe a couple more of those. And then let your feet gently open to the sides. Have your arms down by your sides with your palms face out. Feel the entire length of your body on the ground. Feel your foundation. And allow yourself to settle into that. And knowing that you're firmly held by the earth, give yourself the freedom, flexibility, space, and permission to let go, to allow yourself this time to rest and replenish, to simply be fully present as you fully surrender into Shavasana. And very slowly and gently begin to deepen your breath. Draw awareness back into your body as you wiggle your fingers and your toes. You can start to move and stretch in any way that feels good on your body. When you're ready, hook your knees into your chest. Roll to your right side. Make your way all the way back up to find a comfortable seat. Once you arrive, close your eyes. Bring your hands together at heart center one final time. Call back your intention that you set at the beginning of class. Feel free to modify or change it in any way so that you can carry it with you off of your mat and back out into your life. And then please take a moment to honor yourself for your practice, for making this time, which is an act of balance in and of itself, to devote this energy to your practice, to yourself, knowing that it will then in turn ripple out to others as you share your energy with the world. And let's honor each other for holding the space for one another in our practice. And we'll seal in our intentions and end our class with a final cleansing breath. Take a deep breath in and let it go with a sigh. Gently bow your head to your heart. The light within me recognizes and honors this very same light in each one of you. Namaste. Thank you all so much for your practice today. It was wonderful to be here with you. Enjoy the rest of this gorgeous day. Sorry we didn't use the wall.
Oh,
Next
I did actually.
There you go. See.
Thanks, Erin.
So much, Debbie. Have a great day.
You as well. Take care.
Bye.
Mm.